CBS News in Washington. Face the Nation with Bob Schieffer.
And good morning again. We welcome to the broadcast this morning Senator John McCAIN, who's just back from Libya. We'll get to questions about that and Republican politics in a minute. Senator, welcome to the broadcast. The first thing I want to ask you about this morning, at the recent Republican debate, the audience booed when a gay soldier asked a question and the candidates on stage said nothing. Last night, the president jumped all over that at a gay rights dinner. Now, I know you opposed ending Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but I want to play a bit of what the president said and get your reaction here.
We don't believe in that. We don't believe in standing silent when that happens. We don't believe in them being silent cents. You want to be commander-in-chief? You can start by standing up for the men and women who wear the uniform of the United States, even when it's not politically convenient.
So what about that, Senator McCAIN? Did the president have a point?
I think he has a point, but the fact is the overwhelming majority of Americans support the men and women who serve in the military, no matter what their sexual orientation is. I oppose the repeal without the assessment of effect on enlistment, morale, battle effectiveness, etc. But the fact is that we should honor every man and woman who is serving in the military and should in no way treat them with anything but the highest regard. Different from the war that you and I had some involvement in.
Well, do you think that the Republican candidates should have spoken up at that debate about that?
Yeah, I do, but a lot of times you know, when you're in a debate, you're thinking about what you're going to say and what the question is going to be. It's hard to react sometimes. So, but I'm sure that I would bet that every Republican on that stage did not agree with that kind of behavior.
You're just back from Libya, where you traveled this week. Yesterday, Army General Carter Ham, who heads the U.S. forces in Africa, told the AP that he thought the military mission in Libya is done. What do you think? Should the NATO mission be declared over, even with Gaddafi still at large?
I think that it's certainly winding down. I think there's no doubt that the victory has been won, but there's enormous challenges for the Libyans. There's still significant areas where they haven't gained control. They have no national army, Bob, and these militias are very, it's very unclear where they will go and where they lie. They need a national army. They've got thousands and thousands of wounded. They say that they've lost 25,000 people killed, 3,000 that have been maimed, 60,000 injured. That's their government figures. We should be helping them. We should be giving, they don't have the medical expertise and talent to take care of these people. Senator Rubio and Senator Kirk and Senator Graham and I went to a hospital in Tripoli. There are amputees there. We should be sending, either helping them by sending some of them to Landstuhl, our hospital in Germany, maybe even thinking about sending a hospital ship to Tripoli if that's too dangerous, maybe to Malta. But we can help them. They don't have the medical capability to care for all of these wounded. More are still coming in. I think that would be very important in our relations with the Libyan government and people. Don't get me wrong, they have challenges, but they are like America. They are proud of what we've done to help them, and I think we could do enormous things by helping them with the casualties that they've experienced, which have been horrendous.
Let's talk a little politics this morning. What's the deal here? New Jersey Governor Chris Christie said he would commit suicide before running for president. Now everybody tells me he is seriously reconsidering whether to get into the race. You think he's going to run, and you think he ought to?
I don't know. I think it's a tough decision that only he and his family can make. I do remember in past years we've had people whose names popped up and they've been kind of the flavor of the month. I'm a great admirer of Governor Christie. I think he's done a great job as governor. I think he'd be a very viable candidate. Let's remember he's starting from way behind in fundraising and organization and other areas, but look, could I just mention, we have the deepest bench in the Republican Party now that I have ever seen in my lifetime. We've got governors like Governor Christie and Governor McDonnell. We've got young senators like Rubio and Graham and Kirk and Kelly Ayotte in New Hampshire. We've got members of the House like Eric Cantor and Paul Ryan. We've got the deepest bench that I have ever seen. So I'm very excited about the future of the party. If Governor Christie decides to run, I wish him luck. I think that there is a bit of a caution. It always, the swimming pool looks a lot better until you jump right in. The water may not be quite as warm as you think.
Well, you cite this deep Republican bench, and yet the polls suggest, and the anecdotal evidence, I mean, when I talk to Republicans, they don't seem very happy with the Republican field that's running. Why do you think that is?
I think it happens almost every time that people are not happy with the perfect candidate. I do note that Governor Romney and Perry and others are very competitive now. Others in the polls with the president, and I think that we have a good crop of candidates. I think the party will rally around the nominee, and I think we're going to win this next election.
Let me just quote what Rush Limbaugh said about Chris Christie the other day. He said the Republican establishment does not want a conservative to get the nomination. If they can co-opt the conservative, they will do it. And he said that speech that Governor Christie made out at the Ronald Reagan Library last week, he said he heard a lot of John McCAIN.
Oh, no.
What do you think he meant by that?
I don't know what Rush meant. He represents the voice of a strong, significant part of our party. I think that Governor Christie would probably run on his record as governor, and I think that that's a pretty solid base that conservatives could rally around. But look, as you know, I'm not in it. Could I also say that I think it's time for the President of the United States to emulate what Bill Clinton did after the '92 elections. Sit down with Republicans and let's try and work something out. People are sick and tired of what's going on here in Washington, both as far as Congress and the president is concerned. He's not going to pass his jobs bill. Dick Durbin, the #2 guy in the Senate, just said, we're not going to pass the jobs bill through the Senate in its present form. Instead of saying pass the bill now, why doesn't the president say, let's sit down now? Everybody I talk to in Arizona on the street say, why don't you all sit down and reach some agreements? This economy is in the tank, and it's getting worse, and the housing crisis, which triggered all this, is not coming back, and we need to address the housing crisis in this country. While Wall Street is doing fine, Main Street is still hurting very badly. Have the president take the Bill Clinton approach, in my view.
Wouldn't the White House say to you, I keep asking them to sit down, and all they do is say no?
I just know for a fact that our Republican leaders now, they read the polls. They see how low opinion the American people have of us, but more importantly than that, the economy continues to stagger along. Remember last summer, I believe it was going to be the summer of recovery. So it's time we tried something different. And it works. The approval rating of both will go up if we will sit down and look. There are some areas that we would agree on. The payroll tax, a flat tax. Have you met any American that doesn't agree that we should reform the tax code? And I don't think we can put all our eggs in the basket of the super committee, as much as I admire and respect it.
John McCAIN, always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me,
Senator. All right.